This is a video example of how to combine a few C++ features such as interfaces, inheritance, and type traits. And the example that we're going to do in this video is we're going to create a database. Let's say this is the database, and what we're going to add in the database is a few creatures called mouse, tiger, and elephant. And we're gonna add a few attributes to these creatures. One is size, and a mouse is small, tiger is medium sized, and elephant is large. And the size here will determine how these creatures will react when they confront each other. And the default behavior is that smaller creatures will flee from the larger ones when they meet. So let's start creating this system. First class we're going to create is called organisms database. And this will hold all of the organisms. All of the organisms will have a base class called organism base. And the way that we're going to store these organisms in this database is by using a vector. So let's include that. And add it here. And we're also going to include memory because we want to use unique pointer right away so that we don't have to worry about garbage collection. And put the organism base here. And let's call this organisms vec. Okay. So now we can start adding these creature classes that we were talking about. Class mouse, it's derived from organism base. I'm just gonna copy this a few times to create the other ones too. Class tiger, elephant. Okay. And now we have the size attribute that we need to add. It's gonna be enumeration called organism size, and it will have small, medium, and large. And we're gonna add size to organism base, size value. Also, what we want to do is let's include string and add string here called subtype name and have default value empty string. This is because we want to later on identify this subclass in this base class by using this subtype name string. So let's create a constructor for all of these classes in order to initialize this size. For first the base class constructor, taking in temp size value, and in the initializer list fill in the size. Okay, and the body of the constructor will be empty. Same for all of these derived classes, just now we just need to define what to move in the base class just rename these constructor names and mouse is small and the body will be empty in the constructor, and tiger is medium sized and elephant is large. Okay, so now we have all the constructors defined, and we can actually name the subtype name in the constructor body. Subtype name is in the derived classes, of course. So let's do that here. Subtype name is mouse. Same here. Just gonna copy this and change the name. Tiger. Same here. Elephant. Okay. Now we have all the creature classes defined. And the next one we were talking about is the behavior. How these creatures behave when they confront each other. So let's start creating that. Let's create a few tags. We're gonna make this system by using type traits. And to use type traits, we're gonna need a few tag classes. And first tag is called basic trait. It's just an empty class. And the second one, copy this a few times. Second one is called fearless trait. And third one is fear of mice trait. And we're also going to want to create a base class for these traits. Let's call that traits base, and it's also an empty class. But now these sub traits need to derive from the base class, so let's do that. Okay, now we have our traits. And how to use these traits is we need to create first an interface that we are going to store in this organism base, and the interface is called traits interface. Let's say behavior interface, and let's call that behavior interface base. And it's going to have one method called handle behavior, and this is going to handle a behavior for a single creature, and this function will take parameters, a reference to the first organism, the caller. Let's call this a caller, and the second parameter will be, let's say, other, and this is a pure virtual function, so this will need to be defined in the derived class of this class, which we will create right now. Class behavior derived. Let's just call it behavior derived. And this is template class, which will take first organism type and also behavior tag, which we created here before. Okay, and then also let's just right away create a mechanism to determine that we are really using correct behavior tags and not something else that can mess this up. So for that we need to use enable if, and it's in header type traits. Enable if std is base of. We're just gonna compare this base class to this behavior tag. That's why we created this base class. So first the base class and then this behavior tag, which will be one of these. Okay, so now we have type checking here, so we will prevent using something else than these traits. And let's continue to define this class. We will have this same function, same name function here. Let's add it here, but now let's define this. And this is the base behavior that we were talking about, that in this class we're gonna define that. And it was that if a smaller creature confronts a larger one, it will flee. So if caller size is smaller than other size. And now let's add IOStream so that we can print stuff to the screen. Include IOStream. We're just gonna see out this caller subtype name plus fleas and std end line. Otherwise, let's just see out that the caller, which is here, subtype name, stays and fights. Okay. So this is the base behavior. Now we can define behavior for these other traits, fearless and fear of mice. Let's do that. And this is gonna be a, let's put a comment here. Behavior base. Then behavior specializations. And just to save time, I'm gonna copy here. We don't need this. And the first specialization will be for this fearless trait. And same thing, this method here, define it. And if a creature is fearless, it will always stay and fight. So we can just print this. So there you go, fearless is defined. And the last one was called fear of mice. So once again, just gonna copy this quickly. Fear of mice trait. And this will check if the other creature that we are confronting with is a mouse, and if it is, this caller will flee. If other subtype name equals to mouse, then we will just say that the caller flees. Otherwise we can just use the base template here, so that we don't need to copy this behavior. We will just call this base template with organism type, but now not using the fear of mice but the basic trait. And we will actually need to create an object here, temp trait object, and call the handle behavior right here with these parameters. Okay, so now we have all the behaviors defined, and we can start adding these different kind of creatures or animals, mouse, tiger and elephant, to the database here. So first let's create the database. Yes, the database object, and in order to add these to the database, we can create a method for that, and we're gonna add the method to the database class, which is actually, this is a bit difficult because we have everything in the same file. But yes, there's the database. Okay, let's add a template function here, which will take the organism type and also the behavior tag. And this is a function add organism. And first, this will create the behavior interface. Which is called behavior interface base, and we will add it as unique pointer. Let's call it temp pointer, or let's say behavior pointer, or behavior interface. New, then we can actually create the behavior derived class with this organism type and also behavior tag. And this will create this derived class as a pointer to the base class. So we can use this pointer in the organism base soon. We will actually need to put it here also. Let's add it here, because we will need to store this behavior pointer and null pointer. And let's also add it to the constructor. Temp pointer. And add it in the initializer list. Behavior pointer. Temp pointer. Right, so. And also we will need to do the same thing in the derived constructors. And we will use an error value reference because so that we can make sure that we are moving the this pointer, because unique pointer can only be moved. Same here actually, and use std move. And move it to the base class constructor here. And we can basically just copy this, use the same code here. For all of these. Okay. Now, where were we? Add organism, okay. Okay, here we have the behavior interface created. Then we just add an organism using this interface in its constructor. Organism emplace back, and then the parameters, which is only the behavior interface pointer, which we will move. So we move this here. Create behavior interface. Okay. And then also we will need to have we will talk about confrontations between these animals. So let's create a function that puts two animals against each other, see how they behave. Void confront 2, and it will take the organism base first and second. And what will happen here is that first and second will be handled different. Will be handled separately. First, behavior pointer, handle behavior, and caller and the other one. And then for the second one, but swap these, because now the second one is the caller and first one is the other one. Okay, so in this function we will handle the confrontation separately between the two of the animals. Okay, so in the main function, let's just database, we can add a few, add organisms, and let's add a mouse and fearless And also let's add a elephant that is scared of mice. Wait, what was it called? Oh, fear of mice. Yes. Okay, and now we can just make these two confront each other and see what happens. Database confront 2 and now that we know that we can just use the index for the first one and also for the second one. And let's see what happens. I actually cut the video because I freaked out when I saw 9 errors, but I had to do a few fixes to the code. And one of them is that we need to forward declare here this behavior interface base. Let's do that. And the second thing is the order of these classes needs to be changed a bit. We need to move this here. And also there's another thing I forgot to do. These classes are derived from this behavior interface base, and I'm gonna do that right now. And the last one was that this is organism creation is ill-formed. We need to do it differently right here. Just create a separate pointer, create organism, temp organism, just organism type, and move this interface in. And then we move this organism to this vector. And then it works. Mouse fearless mouse stays and fights, and the elephant flees the mouse. Let's try with the basic traits. What happens? Mouse flees as it's supposed to against a bigger elephant, and the elephant stays and fights. So there you have it. It got a bit messy at the end because I put everything in the same source file, main CPP, which in the beginning I thought would be clearer, but in the end it wasn't really. So next time I will put the code in separate headers and source files. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll try to answer as the best I can.